All right. Abu Sheni, thank you very much for making the time to come through to my space, for clicking on the link, for subscribing, for clicking on the bell for notifications. And I'm definitely looking forward to your comments and your feedback from this video. Okay, so what inspired this quick talk is a conversation that I deeply could actually relate to. So I came across a vlog, a young South African woman. Well, she's not young anymore, but she tells a story of herself, when she was actually younger. If you had to imagine someone coming out of college, getting into corporate, early 20s, she's a virgin. The world is your oyster type of thing. She just, has so many opportunities in front of her. This woman is now living positively with HIV, which means she's an HIV activist, okay? And yeah, man, her story in terms of how she actually contracted the virus was so, I could connect to it in many ways. So I want to just draw those parallels because it got me thinking of also a passage in the good book. I think it's in the book of Judges where Samson, the Nazarite, went through quite an interesting experience, which I'll touch on just now. So anyway, let's go back to the young lady. So she's a virgin, she's now in corporate, and she's managed, of course, to keep herself a virgin, as in not have any sex, because that's how she actually was raised and that's her belief system, both culturally and religiously. So now in corporate she meets a young man who actually appreciates and understands all of that, number one, but secondly and more importantly, it's someone that she saw that this person shares my values. In other words, they understand her and respect her virginity, and they are also willing to, of course, wait and eventually marry her before they can actually think about sex. All right. Now, at the pinnacle of, or rather at the start of their relationship, a work assignment actually appears where she has to go overseas and be seconded in that particular country for about a year or so, and the resulting impact is that, of course, in the relationship is that, of course, it will be largely electronic, so to speak. So they'll speak over the phone and do that kind of thing. All right, cool. So they get into that agreement. They both are agreeing to it. Fast forward the picture a couple of months later, being young people, I love you, I miss you, I can't wait for the first time we actually do it, when we get married, yada yada yada. And then I want to marry you, right? So I guess, or rather she says that as a young woman, and I really hope I'm not representing or misrepresenting this, but the gist of it will come through. Anyway, as a young woman, she of course has these feelings about this guy, and she makes it right in her mind to say that, hang on, we are about to get married, so me sleeping with this guy, it's really just moving forward what is going to happen anyway. He already committed to marry me, so we are practically married, and that's how she makes it okay in her mind. So whilst she's in this foreign country, she gets an opportunity to come through in South Africa for about 2 weeks. And in that 2 weeks, she decides, okay, she's going to go to this guy's place first, love on him, literally have sex, and then, of course, go back home and then eventually go back to work in this foreign country. And here's the climax of the story, that in that one, that one experience, let's call it, she contracted HIV. By the way, what I did not mention as well, because I'm not trying to retell the story, but what I did not mention is that they actually agreed, to do even HIV tests prior to the time. She actually did test, and he did not test, but he said that he's already testing and he's frequenting the doctor's office. Now he's shy to go back. They laugh at him. And then, of course, based on that, she thinks, okay, he's negative, and they do their thing, right? But unfortunately, he was already positive, which means then she contracted the virus that way. First time, once. So, Mina, I grew up in the 90s. I was born in the 80s, but grew up in the 90s. And if you are from that era, you would remember how prevalent the message of HIV awareness was in the 90s. Literally in school, we knew anything and everything. We just know about HIV. So the whole once thing was never a what can I say? Was something we always thought, no, I can do it once and I'll be fine. But in her case, I guess it was not the case. She contracted it. Okay. The point of that story and what I wanted to actually say before I then step into the Simpson parallel is that she made it okay in her mind to sleep with him without a condom, even though of course he lied. But of course we can only control our actions, Anita. We can't control other people's actions and truths or lies or whatever the case may be. There's a whole lot she could have done. And she goes through all of this, by the way, in the video. I'll leave the link in the comments as well. There's a whole lot that she could have done. But the minute she made it okay for her to actually sleep with him, that was a slippery slope, The battle was almost lost at that point. And we've got these kind of moments in our lives, all of us, where you get to a crossroad, a place of decision, and once you make that decision, it's a slippery slope. Until, of course, God's grace comes in. Because, by the way, her story did not end there, as you can imagine. She's, again, like I said at the beginning, that she's living positively with HIV. She's married, she's happy, etc., etc.